Here we are, the biggest update yet for Hearts of Iron 4, the plane designer. We had the ship designer, we had the tank designer. I was a bit, but then I really started to love it. And to be fair, planes have been long overdue for a major update, and this excites me. In short, when the tank designer came out, they thought it is inevitable that we're going to make a plane designer, and this is what the new expansion will offer us. Not only will we be able to make our own planes by fitting machine guns, torpedoes, bombs, engines, and even special modules as well, but we'll be able to make multi-role aircraft. Have you ever wanted an aircraft that does air superiority and also naval strikes? You ever wanted a plane that can do air reconnaissance and strategic bombing? Now you can. My guess would be multiplayer going to min-max by having like max agility, a single role plane like a Spitfire for dogfighting. Well, in single player, because you've got more options, because the AI won't tend to make single-use stat-intensive aircraft, you can make yourself a multi-role aircraft that might potentially do everything. That scares me. A plane that is really good at air superiority, but also simultaneously really good at close air support. Scary. It is a little bit simplified. We only can change engines, weapons, and special modules, where in tanks, there's an armor slot, there's a turret slot, there's a size and weight of the turret. So it is slightly more simplified, which in a weird way isn't bad because the amount of things you can add on a plane are limited, particularly if it is a small airframe. So it does work the way it works with tanks. You've got 3 different chassis to choose from, a light, medium, and heavy. They've now combined the jet planes as an actual engine that you attach on, so you don't need to make a specific unique aircraft that's just for jets only. And also reconnaissance is now baked into the existing planes as well. Planes will do everything. There is a new stat though. Be aware. We have weight and thrust. So what you've got the potential to do here is if you do overload this by filling all the module slots, the weight will be too high. If the weight ever gets higher than the thrust, it means the plane cannot take off, and that is not a usable aircraft. So the idea behind it is if it's a larger aircraft, it will have more engines, so therefore have more thrust, but then larger aircrafts have a wider turning circle, which means they'll have less overall agility. It is a balancing act. We need to be above 0 agility so it can turn, and then also we need enough thrust for it to actually successfully take off. It is a balancing act. It's not as straightforward when it came down to tanks. Tanks is all about reliability and just getting the right stats, but the plane has actually got to have enough thrust to take off and successfully turn. Will you make the aircraft that will do that? Well, you've not got a choice, because those aircrafts that don't meet those requirements cannot be made in the plane designer. I said it, plane designer. You can now make jet CAS, jet heavy fires. Oh, this is going to be fun. I feel like the dream aircraft is going to be a medium chassis, which is like a heavy fighter, but it will have a combination of CAS, air superiority, and maybe naval strike. Will that be possible? Is that too many things on one plane? I don't know. We'll see. So the initial slot, the very first one, will determine what the aircraft actually is. Is it a naval bomber? Is it a fighter? Is it CAS? That will be determined by the very first slot. In this case, this is classed as a naval bomber because the very first slot is a torpedo. It doesn't have any air attack because it doesn't have a machine gun, so it can't defend itself, but it has naval attack and naval targeting, giving it the ability to target ships. And I presume once the first slot has been determined, you just fill out the rest with whatever you want to boost your ship with. Note here, there's a new icon here. So this is like naval reconnaissance. So they've separated land reconnaissance and naval reconnaissance. It's really interesting too, because it means now we're actually going to take advantage of spy planes, where before it was a separate slot, a separate production, and it just wasn't worth your time. But now it's all baked in, and we can do it all. You can create fighters now that can provide ground support, or strategic bombers that can do naval strike, depending on the modules you put on the plane. This is going to be really interesting, because if you were to make a strategic bomber, which has awesome range, and then add torpedoes to it to hit submarines, that takes away the big bonus of what submarines do, because submarines have the range to get away from any land or any potential airports. However, strategic bombers will be able to catch up to them with range. Could you make a one-use strategic bomber for naval strike? A naval strategic bomber for super long range. That would completely nerf submarines for Germany. Without accounting for doctrines, there are no stat differences between a fighter that has 4 heavy machine guns in the primary slot and bombs in the secondary slot, and a CAS that has bombs in the primary slot and MG in the secondary slot. The first slot categorizes what the aircraft is, and the rest of them are just to give extra stats to the aircraft. The only reason you would change the first slot is just to change what the categorization of what the aircraft could be, a fighter or a CAS. Then you ask the question, what's the point of having a categorization of fighter or CAS? Well, there are stats in doctrines that can determine bonuses for certain kinds kinds of aircraft. So in that circumstance, I guess the middle path gives bonuses for agility for CAS. So I guess the first slot would be a bomb and the rest of it machine guns, and therefore you get the maximum agility bonus for a specific CAS. Would it even be CAS anymore in that case though? I like the idea of an aircraft that does air superiority in CAS. That just really excites me. Bomb locks, rocket rails, small bomb bay, anti-tank cannon, anti-tank cannon 2. So these are big weapons, big cannons, and this reduces agility but gives gain extra ground attack. This is always what it's going to be. You're always going to be choosing between air attack or ground attack, and if you add that on, you're going to be losing agility. More weight is going to result in less of a turning circle, therefore less of ability to dogfight. I have a feeling the best fighters are going to be the most naked ones with the smallest machine guns to have the most maximum agility. Depending on what you add on to your aircraft will determine what missions it will have unlocked. Is it even going to be possible to have an aircraft that's going to be able to do everything? So we've got machine guns or cannons, which give air superiority interception. Then we have rocket rails for CAS. Torpedoes for naval strike, fixed explosive charge for kamikazes. Interesting, medium bomb bay offers close air support as well as logistical bombing. So it looks to me like the medium bomb bay is like the jack of all trades. Could you try and combine a machine gun and medium bomb bays, but then it'd be classed as a tactical bomber? That's really interesting. I can't wait to play with this. It's going to be so much fun. And if you go for the large bomb bay, of course, it is a strategic bomber. Look at this, guys. This is the tech tree. So we've gone from 38 techs, which is the existing tree for Air Force, to 28. And it's streamlined because there are no scout planes. We've got, I guess we've not lost the transport. There's less jet fighters, I suppose. The jet fighter is a module for the engine. So overall, we've resulted in a lot less technology. Really curious to hover over some of these technology ones to see what the upgrades actually do. It seems that the engines are upgradable as time goes on too. So it's interesting to see how the more advanced engines change and evolve. That's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really weird playing Hoi 4 where I'm going to be playing it and not hitting the plus icons for agility or air attack, and I'm going to have to build them myself. Note, this is a really cool change. If you are sending a certain plane on a certain mission, of course the aircraft will have to be re-equipped for that specific role. So in this case, if a ship is going to be dropping torpedoes, of course it's going to be equipped with torpedoes, and torpedoes are very large, very heavy, and in this case it reduces the agility of the aircraft when they're doing certain missions. So certain missions will have an impact on the aircraft's overall stats. It does look like all these missions here reduce agility for the aircraft. Interesting. But it does look like logistical strike also is a penalty. Is that to air defense, I think? I think it is, yeah. Ooh, I wonder why that is. Here are some of the extra modules. So we have armor plate to increase defense, but reduces range. So that's trading one for another. Self-sealing fuel tanks increases air defense, cost rubber. Whoa, interesting. Drop tanks increases range, small frames only. So this is like your escort fighter that was used in the middle of the war to defend the strategic bombers bombing Germany. Extra fuel tanks increases range, reduces air defense. Interesting. Dive brakes increases air defense, increases naval strike hit chance. Radio navigation reduces night attack penalty, increases strat attack. Interesting with that, the reducing night penalties, increasing strat attack, increases naval detection. As I mentioned earlier, it looks anything that's adding extra air attack is also reducing agility. Because at the end of the day, if you're adding more gear on, you're making the plane heavier, therefore you're reducing its turning circle, therefore losing its ability to be more agile in the sky. So recon camera allows the unlock recon mission. So it doesn't look like you can do recon automatically. And demining coil unlocks demining mission. Oh, of course, man the guns. That's how you clear out mines. Okay. I feel like these are two things that I feel like I never add on to my planes. Non-strategic materials reduces aluminium cost and reduces air defense. This is similar to what the Brits did in World War II. Because there were certain planes that were made out of an aluminium frame, they're made out of wood. And also the Zero was a bamboo chassis, wasn't it? And it wasn't aluminium? Could be wrong about it. Tell me in the comments, guys. Planes also now will have surface and sub detection. So now you can build certain planes that will be more optimized for land detection or sub detection. Feels like more of an intelligence thing. So you can see here, we've got land intel and naval patrol. So therefore helping to spot for ships. We are going to be having a rework for ships too. So this will tie in very nicely together. Maritime patrol planes are built onto a large airframe, giving them an exceptional range. They are able to mount the whole array of naval bomb weapons, and naval strike is really not intended to be their primary role. Maritime patrol planes are meant to help with spotting raiders in deep ocean, where small planes with shorter range struggle to provide much mission efficiency. agility. What it's gearing up for here are some of the Pacific-based long-range aircraft for intelligence gathering. I wonder if Naval Strike can be equipped onto these, but I imagine they would have massive penalties, wouldn't they? It would definitely be frowned upon. Historical art, and we have a bunch of planes that we had before, as well as some new ones. The rocket planes are going to be really interesting, and also it's how jets are going to work compared to the rest of the other aircraft is going to be interesting too. One of the common things in Hoi 4 at the minute is you don't see many jet aircraft because it comes too late in game. So it's going to be interesting to see more MP guys take advantage of the jet aircraft. It would be really fun to see. Italian planes by the looks of things. Are these Italian ones? Actually, no, these are German, aren't they? Are these Japanese? These are Japanese, aren't they? These are a few aircraft that the devs have created. By the looks of things, some of these have been tests and they've failed, so therefore they're not going to make it into the game. So what they've done here is stacked a tactical bomber with loads of different bombs, adding massive ground attack. But unfortunately, the agility of this plane is so unbelievably bad, the aircraft wouldn't be able to turn. So I presume this aircraft can't be made in the final release. It could definitely take off because it's got more thrust than weight. However, it would not be able to turn. So I presume they're going to be the two requirements. You need to have more thrust than weight, and you have to have more than one agility, I presume. It's going to be interesting to make really trash planes that do specific roles, isn't it? I can see myself making some kind of very crap naval bomber that you can mass produce just to bomb the English Channel, to do like a naval invasion from Germany to the UK. It's going to be interesting now. So this is the engine. What are these? Ooh, what are they? We have this aircraft, which it looks like these are adding on bomb bays. Each bomb bay will offer more strategic bombing and more ground attack. But this has the exact same problem as the previous one. It has no agility, so this plane will not turn. But my goodness, this has a lot of bomb bays. And this is a medium airframe too. So this is a medium strategic bomber. That's new. Look at the cost on this one. 100 production cost. The other one's pretty expensive. 99. Yeah, they're all pretty expensive. And then we have a flying tank. Oh my god, it's so heavily equipped. Sub-minus agility. Has naval attack, surprisingly. Air superiority. Loads of air attack. This just basically just flings loads of firepower in the sky, but it can't turn again. And then we have a 2-engine Spitfire. It says with lots of guns. I mean, checks out, I guess. So we have lots of air attack. We have really good agility, loads of thrust. So this is a pretty competent fighting aircraft. I mean, it has 39 production costs, so this is mad expensive. That's one thing you'll notice about planes, because they have to do a certain role. Fly, they have to be aerodynamic. They end up having to be pretty expensive, even if you make the cheap ones. The most fun thing I'm excited about is to be able to make really cheap planes to see if they can make them cost effectively, which is pretty much what I've been doing for tanks anyway. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you next week for some more Dev Diary fun. Bye. Hey, you made it to the end. Now, this is the video you want.